Buenas, welcome to Music Marketing TV. I'm Kevin Ochoa, and today we're going to take a look at FabFilter Twin 3 in the context of a dubstep track. So let me load up the session here that I have, and let me open up a bass patch here. Let's click on that guy, and boom, this is what my dubstep bass patch sounds like. It's a patch from the initial library that I modified a lot, and I did a little tiny bit of post-processing, not too much, just so I could fit into the mix. So I just have a, say, Pro Q3, a Pro MB, a Pro C2 for the sidechaining. You can get rid of this Pro C2 if you like, because you can do sidechaining via the envelopes, the envelope follower. So you can route the kick drum and the snare to the sidechain channel inside in Twin 3, and then do the sidechain within Twin 3, which, you know, you can get rid of this plugin. Unfortunately, I started working on this project with the VST2 version of Twin 3. So instead of having to do, you know, recalling all the plugins or the patches and copy pasting all the MIDI, I just decided to do a sloppy Pro C2 on that and save myself that headache. And then have a little bit of EQ over here at the end. So I'm going to break down the whole process of how to make this track. Now, all the synths here are using Twin 3. All the basses are using Twin 3. So I'm going to show you guys how this works in the context of a dubstep track. Now, for the first video in this series, we covered a hardstyle track. So check that out. I break down how the entire track, including the drums, the hardstyle kick drums, are made with Twin 3. So without further ado, let's take a look at this demo and get started.
Is it too much to ask to know? Is it too much to ask to know?
All right, there you go. That's the dubstep track example that I have. So there we have a ton of different modulations on the bass, not just with automation, as you can see here, but within the bass itself, the bass patch. So we have a bunch of these character modulations, the XFOs, the envelopes, keyboard tracking, some of it too. So there is a lot going on inside these patches. So what I'll do is I'll break down the original patch that was included inside Twin 3, how I modified it to fit this type of really dirty dubstep, because the original patches that come with Twin 3, they sound really clean. No, I wanted to go a little bit beyond that and distort a little more, get a little bit more crunchiness, a little bit more bass out of the patches. And I'm going to show you some techniques to do that along the way. And I'm going to show you some of the other patches like the ARPs, the crashes, the sub impacts, which is pretty cool. Some of them I do render to audio just simply so I can truncate the reverb. But besides that, everything is done inside Twin 3. Just a tiny bit of post-processing like I showed you with a little bit of EQ and multiback compression, but pretty much all the sounds that come out of the synthesizers are just Twin 3. So let's take a look and a deep dive into each one of these patches. Okay, so what we'll do first is start by analyzing the two basses as they are right now in their musical context. So the first bass is this one. It's doing the call. So let me show you by itself. And then the other part. And then the second bass is this one over here. And that was doing the responses. And that one's a little bit closer to the original preset, which is this one over here. Let's duplicate the preset. And move the original one, or the one I made myself, or processed. And then we're going to go to bass. And we're going to go to dubstep screech. And that's the patch I started with. So it's more of a typical dubstep screech. But I wanted to make it a lot dirtier, so I duplicated both of the patches, and I decided to make one a lot dirtier or a lot nastier for the call. I mean for the call, and then the response was going to be a little bit cleaner, so I could bounce a little bit, have it be a little bit more melodic. The original patch with the call with the original patch sounds like this. So it's pretty plain, and you have to do a lot of post-processing, or not post-processing, but a lot of more modulation to get there. So we're going to start off with the call, with how I change the call patch. So let's go to this one. Okay. So first off, the way we're getting those dubstep-y sound is by creating a metallic sound using noise and modulation. Let me show you where the modulation sources are. Here we have an XLFO1, which is modulating the oscillator 1 level, the character of the filter, or the oscillator, sorry, and then a oscillator 2 level, and that's modulated also by the keyboard tracking. So as we pitch up higher, it's going to change, or lower, it's going to change. So it's going to be decrease. That way it's going to be a little bit more resonant as you pitch up higher. And then you have a oscillator 3 level and a filter frequency offset and a mod wheel. And that's all being modulated by the XLFO1. The XLFO2 isn't modulating anything as far as I can see in this original patch. The envelope generator 1 is modulating the filter frequency and the FX drive amount. So if we take a look at this thing, let's make a new loop here. When we push a little bit harder into that distortion, we're going to get more character in the low and the mid range, but we're going to lose some of the high end. Let me show you this by amplifying the input into the drive. We can also see this by exaggerating the movements here. So let's increase the drive amount by a lot more. You can really hear how you can drive that in, but you lose some of the high end because the drive, I guess it's going through different types of distortions all at once. So, well, sorry, not all at once, but morphing through them. So that's one technique you can use to get some little dirtiness after a cleaner attack. So let's go back on this. This is Kevin from the future. I just realized I went back too many times on the Dubstep Screech patch, and I went all the way back to the patch I made. So let me just go back to the Dubstep Screech, and then what I'll do is show you guys what the modulations sound like. So let's go ahead and turn this all to 0. And let's do this one as well. And let's see. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. We have them all at 0. Now there's a tiny bit of portamento, but don't mind that. So once we play this, we're not really going to get any level out of it because my oscillators are all down. So let's take a listen to the oscillators. Balance level is just a bit higher. Let's do -12. Now you're going to need a sub or good headphones to actually hear this, but it's just low frequencies, and we can actually, let's take a look at them through here, through the wave candy. You can also kind of see them here inside the spectral analyzer here in Twin 3. Now, once I start adding some of that first XLFO, we're gonna get more modulation on those oscillators. All right, then we're gonna add the XLFO2 level. The envelope generator. And this one has the most effect because it's on the filter 1 frequency and the drive amount. Right? Now, because we're using oscillators that are sine waves at a different octaves, that means that depending on the octave, we're going to get that resonant frequency. So instead of doing the traditional FM synthesis where you're modulating one low oscillator with a higher pitch one or one oscillator with a lower pitch one to get some more harmonics on top, we're just going to simply add a sine wave, another sine wave where we decide to have that resonant peak at, and just drive them, because the drive is going to generate harmonics that are complementary of the sine waves. So we can get some more harmonics out of these simple waveforms. We could also use triangle waves and see if we can get away with a little bit more harmonics. If we were to use a saw wave, for example, it would be much more harmonics. And we no longer get this metallic or synthetic type of feeling. So I think what would be best to do is continue using sine waves. You get kind of like this hall type of feel. In addition to that, we can change the filters here. And you can see here that we're using multiple filters. Some of them are clean, some of them are the hollow ones. So I would suggest to give them a shot to see what feels like best for you guys. Let's turn these all off for a second. I think in my patch I have them, let's see. Really overdriven. So that's one change. Also, I'm using the saw wave in the low register to push more harmonics in there. So it just depends on what you want to do. Let's go back to this one. So if I wanted more harmonics on there, sawtooth. And then when we play with the filter precision, you can get new tones out of it. And I think in my patch, I added another oscillator. Let's add another sine wave. Let's set it to... All right, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mess around with these filters here. Another cool thing I can do here is because I have control over the, or fine control over the filter frequency, I can say, hey, I want this to be, let's say G4. And then I can look at my MIDI and see where my harmonics are, or the scale of the track. I think this might be F. This track is, I think, is in F. Let's see. Now that low filter right here, I'm gonna change it to be bandpass. See what I get. There we go. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of reverb, but have it modulated by the amp envelope, or the main main level envelope. Let's add some delay here. There we go. We're getting some more texture out of that patch. Now, if I were to remake the whole patch over here that I made, you see that I'm overdriving some of the patches here and reducing some of that noise because I didn't want the noise. I wanted more harmonics out of it. So let's add more noise or more amplitude here. Let's lower this one even more. And you can see in mine where the filters are. And that the fact that I changed the modulation here as well. So let's change the modulation to be quarter note. And the other one over here be just one cycle per bar. And then this, I think this guy modulates the gain. So let's modulate the gain here. Or the peak, I should say. And like I said, we can, let's set this to 0. Let's see over here. We can put this in the scale. So let's do F. Let's do F. Oh no, hold on. We'll do F3 maybe, and then we'll add the keyboard tracking back in, along with the model wheel and aftertouch. Okay. Let's lower this -2 octaves. Let's see. Let's make this low again. Low pass. Let's test it out. Let's push that one even higher. Filter for peak. There we go. There we go. And we're going to modulate all the frequency on the filters with the keyboard tracking. That way it pitches nicely. Okay. And there you guys can see how we can modulate those filters, the oscillators, and the drop parameters to get something that's nice and crunchy, but still smooth and in tune, which is very, very important when it comes to these spaces that are moving and modulating. So there we have the keyboard tracking, goes to all the filters. Then we have the XLFO, which is controlling the amplitude and the filter positioning as well, how much it opens up So those are very, very important factors. Let's look at the sound I created later. And let's look at this one. So for this one, I might want to use the Drive X LFO in there. And the other thing I'm gonna look at is the oscillator that I use in the other one. I use the saws quite a bit then. Let's see. You could also use some of the oscillator syncing, if you like. To generate different tones, which is also really cool. So yeah, those are like the main things you can do here to get that dubstep-y sound. You can also add phasers, reset the phasers, bring them back to have the feedback trigger and then bring it back. You can do a lot of that type of stuff here too. I think I might have done that with the second bass here. Let's take a look at it. And this one talks so well. So it's just a matter of taking a lot of time and finding those peaks. For example, here I'm using a lot of let's see, I have one that's lower octave than the one that's halfway there. You can see that here. It's 67, 121, 266, and then 597. So you try positioning them so they're kind of open, and then you can kind of change the modulation on them a little bit too. In this case, let's see. It was, which one's doing the modulation? I think it's this one. It's detuning the oscillator. It's also changing the oscillator level, oscillator sync, the filter 1 frequency, and the filter peak offset. So it's doing quite a bit of damage there. And the waves I'm using for these are mostly triangle and sine. So even with just something so simple, so pure, you can get something that's very, very distorted. I'm also messing around a lot with the peak offset. So instead of having the peak always be up and high, let me show you what that would sound like. Turn that off. It'd be pretty terrible. I'm able to add a little bit more texture without that resonance. And with this XLFO, I did a little bit of a actual movement with the bass. So let me play a note here with my MIDI controller. Let's turn this on. Okay. Let's see, let's play this over here. So you can see here that there's a sequence playing. So if I wanted to do something a little bit different, I could mess around with this. And we can make it run faster. A little bit slower. So with this, I'm able to actually do like the talking type of thing without actually doing the automation, though the automation does help. Now the automation is going to be a per project thing, whereas this step modulation inside of the XLFO2 is going to be something that you can carry from preset to preset, and you can have something that's pretty standard like I did earlier. Let's pull this back to how it was, where it's just like opening up and slowly closing down. So it does the wow type of thing. And then it slows down a little bit. Or you can have it do it quicker if you want to. See that? So depending on what you want, you can change the speed, change the envelopes, change the glide amount here. If you change the glide amount, you can get something that's snappier, something that's a little bit more staccato, or something that's a gate. So you can mess around with that. You can also change the balance here, and that will drastically change the result you have. Let's put that back where it was. Okay. There's also the compression amount here. And I'm doing a lot of compression. Maybe less than I do in some other sound design, but still quite a significant amount to where we're consistently reducing a lot of the frequency, the dynamic content that goes over a certain threshold. And I really, really want that because I want my drum transients to actually poke through this bass and actually slap a little bit harder than the bass. Or else it's going to sound a little bit too messed up, like not on rhythm, not on point. Or when you have the clef speakers, a kick's going to hit and then your bass is going to be all floppy all over the place. And it could be quieter or louder than the kick at certain places. But with using the compression, you can get a little bit steadier signal. So that's one cool thing I'd recommend you guys use. A lot of compression on these type of basses. I'm also using a FabFilter Pro Q3 to tame some of that side information and the low mids as well. And also taming those little resonant peaks. Without this thing, it sounds a little bit tiny more resonant. This is just ducking down like 3 dB, so just a tiny bit. And then once I add a little bit more Pro MB, watch. I go back to the Pro Q3 and tame a little bit more resonant frequencies. Which is up to your taste. If you like those resonant frequencies, keep them in there. If they're a little bit too much for your taste, you can duck them out. And that's super easy to set up. You can just use the Pro Q3, dynamic mode, and lower the Q. And let's say I want to duck down this one. I can click on that right there. Or just wait for the Pro Q itself to make a Q using the spectral grab. So you can do that. Why is it not doing it? Hold on. So there we can grab that guy and duck it out of the way sometimes. Let's not do that much. We could also set it to apply through a certain threshold here. So let's say it reaches here. And have it duck when it hits that, or reduce when it hits that threshold. So that's really cool. That's another cool technique you can use for basses. I know it's not part of Twin 3, but you can use that. You could argue that you could do this in Twin 3 by setting up a using the keyboard tracking and then using an XLFO or something of that nature, and then have it duck down at a certain rhythmic part of the modulation. So it can be done. It's just that you're going to lose one of these the filters to fix that. So it might be a little bit easier to do in Pro Q3. On top of that, as you can see here in this example, using raw, the tube, and the clean, the two classics. Again, that's just to have different filters. When you have different filters, you're going to get a different phase distortion from out of them. It's going to be, they're going to be battling each other, and it's going to create a lot of phase distortion. So that's another cool trick to use. You could also use an XLFO at a super high rate, like 500 hertz, and have it modulate the position of your LFOs. Your filters. It's going to destroy your chain quite a bit. Let's see. You can just lower the level to something acceptable. That one's really, really nice. So you can mess around with them. You can even automate this right here so that it only happens at that point that I liked and not the beginning growl. Because it's all up to our musical taste and what we want to do. So it's just so fascinating. It's so fascinating that you can do so much modulation within one plugin, not having to resort to third-party filters or third-party distortion. It's all within here. As you saw it, there's no saturation from Saturn 2 or Saturn 3. There's no modulation from, let's say, Decimort, or no distortion from any of these other plugins. It's all within here. You can even argue that you don't need an analyzer, that you can see the spectrum here with the Twin 3, and you don't even have to make use of an analyzer to see your audio. So it takes away so much stuff. It takes away from you having to use a reverb a distortion unit, a chorus, a phaser, modulation sources, filters. So it's just such a pleasure to work with Twin 3. I'm going to continue exploring with it, and I hope you guys do as well. Now I'm going to move along here. That was the bass part of the song. As you saw there, I spent a lot of time with the basses to get them right where I wanted. So let's reload the track. I'm going to close the track and open it up again. And yeah, man, it's so amazing to be working with a plugin like this. It just makes it so that I don't have to spend time thinking about looking for stuff in my DAW. I can just have it there. It's all included in there. I can't explain how happy I am to use it. Going forward, definitely going to make some preset packs for it, and that should be pretty cool, because you can even argue that this way of learning synthesis again, like this virtual analog synthesis, it's like having a renaissance of it, because a lot of people mocked it. They didn't really like it for a long time. They're like, okay, let's either be analog and then start buying modular synthesizers, and if we're going to use digital, we're only going to do really extremely digital sounding synthesizers like Serum or like Kilohertz, which I'm not talking bad about them. They sound amazing, but people wanted to have that functionality and that type of sound. And people wanted to have this type of functionality with modular synthesizers and this type of sound. I'm talking about analog modular synthesizers. Now with something like FabFilter Twin 3, you can get all these crazy modulation types and envelopes and XLFOs that you can create, like you can with the analog modulation synthesis or analog modular synthesis. And you can kind of bring them into like the digital realm a little bit and grab some of that functionality and ease of use that you have with something like Serum or Kilohertz, and kind of bring them in together. Not only that, but you're also getting some spectacular effects like the delay, the reverb unit, and the distortion unit, and you can mess around with them, and man, just get some pristine sounds. Okay, I'm going to show you some of the other patches that I use here. Some of that stuff that's a lot more simple here, but still sounds really good. Start with the introductory ARP, I think. Let's pull it up. Where is it? This is the ARP from Twin 3. Oh, whoops, I made this larger. Now, you would think this is like a vocal chop, but it's not. I actually use vocal chops throughout the track, but not in this intro. This is a Twin 3 patch. It's called The Room Next Door, and I think I might have done a little bit of changes to it. So let's duplicate the track. And let's go back to our preset, The Room Next Door. Yeah, you can see I did a little bit of changes. Let's play it higher. So there's already a lot of this movement. There's an XLFO that's hitting 16th pattern, and that's changing the delay time pan. So your delay is not consistent. It's shifting a little bit. Then we have a filter to peak modulation on the envelope. So you're getting a little bit of a boost at the beginning of the sound, and then it's sustained, and then you're getting a release from that filter. Let's check it out. So you're almost getting a little bit more transient out of the sound, I feel. And we're using 3 filters on this sound. There's a square wave, a saw wave, another square wave, and a noise that are all at the highest setting. I think, yeah, 0 dB, 0 dB. The second square is a little bit lower. But yeah, you have them right here, and then you have let's see. Let's create a loop real quick. make sure it's the right spots. And then there's a keyboard tracking that's modulating all the filters at the same time. So you can keep them nice and musical. And then a reverb modulator over here. This is actually a slider, and you can set the slider to be whatever you like it to be. So if I wanted to increase the, let's say, delay here, call this delay, and then have it modulate the delay, and then boom. There's also a slider here for the reverb delay. That's really, really fabulous right there. There's also phase control here. That's modulating the phaser depth. It's providing this like psychedelic type of feel. The phaser looks like this right here. It's a rate of 5.87 with depth of 29, and the phase is modulating up and down from that point. There's also quite a significant amount of feedback, and the phaser shift is set to 1. Okay? So with that in mind, I decided to modulate that sound because I thought it was pretty darn good already. So I wanted to fit it with this track. And I think the first thing I did was I made the envelope, I think, a little bit slower. I think here's that 0.6 milliseconds, and then over here is at 31, so a lot slower. And then I also did pulse width modulation over here. Let's mute all these right here. Sorry, that's just so loud right now because there's nothing else to stop it on the master. There's Oscillator 1 sync right here. There we go. Okay, now I'm using basically almost the same settings here. A high pass and a low pass, which I think is also what they used in the original patch, with the differentiation that I grabbed the second filter and I made a really, really big peak down, and I think I changed the filter to raw. And then I put this a little bit below the filter 1. So now we have like a little tiny comb filter, kind of, and that's moving along the lines of the keyboard. And I still have the time and the filter 2 peak movement here. And I think the other thing I did was I dragged down the filter, the filter peak offset. I just felt like it was a bit harsh, so I brought it back down. And then I added a bit of portamento, I think. Yeah, I added the portamento. And there we go. That's basically how you make that sound. I think compression, was there compression in the original one? Yeah, I think I'm going to kept it the same. Yep. And I think I added more drive. Yeah. Part of the reason why I added more drive is because you got rid of some of the high frequencies as mentioned before. So even though we're like pushing this, driving this into the distortion, it's kind of shelving off the high end, so I'm doing that as well. And I wanted to do that to make it a little bit less harsh than the original patch. So there you go. That's that patch. Let's get rid of this one. Okay. Then we have another patch over here that's pretty cool. It's a shaker. I can't remember if I grabbed this one from another patch and then I kind of made it again, or if I made this all myself, but let's go through it. So here I have an XLFO that's modulating the filter 1 frequency, the filter 2 frequency, and the effects delay feedback. The feedback is moving a little bit. So we're getting this movement forward and backward of the delay. It's kind of cool. And then we have the delay on the reverb that's set to 18 milliseconds, and the reverb is about 16. And the time is very short because we want this to be like a room reverb because it's a percussion. That's what it sounds like without reverb. It kind of sounds like there's already reverb on it because of the delay. And also because of the little decay we have. If I were to cut that off, it's on like just a noise. Let's see. See, it's noise being cut off. So with the decay set to even a short amount, like 60 milliseconds, so it makes a huge difference. Could also say it kind of sounds like the person moving the shaker up and down because it's going forward and backward a little bit. And you can get more of that swinging feeling by adding more decay if you like. And changing the slope. Okay. The other thing that I'm doing here is I'm doing modulation of the oscillators here with the sync. This is what it would sound like without the sync on the two oscillators. You have the sync there. Sounds a little bit like white noise, but also with a little bit of a more percussion. So I think the oscillator is getting triggered on and off. And then I have the EG2 levels is modulating the oscillator sync itself. So that's pretty cool. All right. Let's turn the filters back on. So we have one filter over here. That's the high frequency one, or the high cut one, and then there's a low cut one over here. And then there's one over here that you might think is not doing much because it's so far away, but it actually is. If we see it here, it's dipping a little bit right here, but because we have the filter frequency offset up higher than it should be, see that? It's at 0 right here. There's that flat, it's being affected. You see that? Boom, it's getting dug down. But because it's the opposite direction now, it's going to peak. See that? Now keep in mind that the envelope generators and the XLFOs are modulating these with different depth or different amounts. So we get a bit of a different movement. I think these are the same modulation and this one's a little bit different. So this moves up quite a bit more. All right. So we can get a different tone using these filters. You can even use a different filter right here. Change these to tube. Hey, it sounds pretty nice. I should have tried that out. Yeah, there you go. Turn the reverb and delay back on. Hey. That sounds like a really nice metallic shaker. Pretty darn cool. All right, let's keep it in there.
Is it too much to ask? Is it too much to ask? To know. Is it too much to ask? To know.
Now the snares, I still can't decide if they're too forward. You let me know if you feel like they're a little bit too forward. Anyway, here I have the crash somewhere up here. And it's more like a little ding and a little crash at the same time. Because I'm using some sine waves here that are let's see. Using a oscillator sync on them. Without that, you don't really get much. Oh, just a little forward. You just get two sine waves right there. But with the sync turn on, you get something that's a little bit more tonal. Right? Go all the way back on this one. Now there's a oscillator 1 level being modulated by the EG2. There's oscillator 2 sync, oscillator 2 level, and oscillator 3 level. Now, to get even more snappy results, I use the EG3 to modulate the level, the oscillator 1 level, and oscillator 1 level from the EG2. So that's pretty helpful that I can do that. Check this out. So you can kind of hear in the background there, but once I add more modulation on it, we can try it out there. And keep it there for that part of the song. And then let's say I wanted to make this a little bit more noisy and less resonant, less tonal. I could pull this back to 0. And have it there for that part of the track. So it's all up to taste again. Then I have an EG4 with oscillator 1, oscillator 2 detune, oscillator 3 detune, and oscillator 4 level. I'm guessing this might have been a different waveform earlier, and then I changed it to white noise, so the detune is not going to really matter that much anymore. But there we go. Nor is the oscillator sync I might have in there by accident. But yeah, there you go. There's modulation from the source from the velocity, I believe. Oh no, not there. I have a melodic techno track coming up where I'm using the velocity a lot to modulate the percussions. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be really cool because that track is 100% twin 3, just like the hardstyle track, 100% twin 3. So there we go. Let's call it a day for that crash. Here we have these little glitches, the dun dun dun. Those are just a bass patch again, but with a different modulation on them instead of or different automation on them. Instead of the filter frequency offset being completely open, like that, I'm bringing them down. And notice how, like, even if I change this a tiny bit, it creates a whole different sound. So let's bring this to what it was. There we go. Then that one's chopping up into half notes, I think. Oh no, or 16th. Let's see. Doing 16th notes right there. And then I have another one over here. I think this might be the same, but just pitch up higher. Yeah. And then this little glitch right here, I just rendered it out. It was this sound right here. Let's do, let's see. Where is the unmute button here? I just want to cut off the reverb, so I just rendered that out. Check this out. Again, it's a lot of the tone that's created by the automation here. So if we were to do something like this. That sounds pretty cool too. Let's bring this up higher though. Haha! That sounds really cool as well. Let's render that. And let's save this. Save new version. Let's save as instead though. Concept tutorial. Just so I can keep that file in there. You can even do like a if you were to extend that note. That'd be really, really cool. Let's give it a shot. I have the MIDI over here though. Let me show you what I got over here on my other screen. Should be this one. Let's lower it though. Hold on. Just this guy. Let's see there. Now, I think going down would be the best solution for this. Keep it higher though. Even maybe extending this would be cool. Let's try it out. Of course, we have the vocal right there, but this could be a cool glitch or cool turnaround pattern. But yeah, there you go. It's pretty darn cool. I really like this growl right here. And it's so simple, it just goes up and down, but because we have the modulation inside of the synth itself earlier, it's doing this. Really, really cool. Okay, there was another patch over here, a cinematic boom that came from Twin 3. And then I just rendered that because I wanted to make sure that I could reverse them for this part here. There you go. And do the little build-up thing. Which I think I kind of did already that with the synth itself. Let's see. Yep. Here's that patch itself. Pretty straightforward patch. If you go to the presets, it's under Cinematic Boom. I did a little bit of change in the depth here and also the envelopes. You can make it longer. Or tighter here. Or you can just use the XY pattern over here. To make a cleaner kick or a more distorted kick, or a kick that's a little bit punchier or a little bit more clicky. Pretty darn cool that you can build all that within Twin 3. Again, the addition of having the delay, the reverb, the distortion unit, the chorus, the phaser goes a long way where you don't have to reach out for another plugin. You can all do it within Twin 3 and get really, really good results. Okay. So for my track, I just rendered it out, chopped it up like I wanted it, and kept it in there. The only thing I'm doing here is doing low cut on the side information because there's a lot of the reverb going in there, so I wanted to get rid of that. But besides that, it still sounds pretty darn good. Like I wouldn't change much else. I'm also using that build-up again here. And now instead of sounding like an impact, it kind of sounds like a little chirpy noise that's going in reverse, which is pretty darn cool. Okay. Let's use it throughout the track. Okay. Let's see. Oh, one thing I forgot to cover. The bass part right here. The sub bass is just one of the patches. Oh, I think I removed it from the track. Yeah. It's basically it's at 0 right now. But to get like a cleaner sub bass, you can get rid of the low frequencies from your other basses and then insert this low like sine wave. And have it in your track there. I thought it was a bit much personally, so I decided to remove it. But that's a cool way to get some more control over your bass instead of using the bass from the actual bass patch. High pass that patch, that bass from that patch, and then insert a clean bass in there. Then I have these little pads in the break. And it's a patch called Distant Movement. And as you can see, I don't think I changed much of it. I think I kept it in there just as it is. And there's another patch over here called Flutter Pad. And again, I don't think I changed much on this one. Yeah, there's something in there that I changed, but I can't recall. Maybe not. But anyway, there you go. That's the pads from the track. And let's see. Let's close this down. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the track. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are our basic patches right there. Is this more that ARP over here? Oh yeah, I forgot this little synth. This is just a clean patch with a little bit of polyphony. I had 24 voices, 4 voices of unison. I am modulating the Oscillator 1 detune, Oscillator 2 detune. Then I'm using a envelope generator to modulate the frequency of filter 1, filter 2. Filter 2 is doing a little bit of peak reduction here. And then I'm also modulating the reverb mount with this, so that the reverb doesn't play when the patch is playing or the oscillators are playing, but then when we come off the oscillators, the reverb goes off. And the main attack is not really changed a lot because I'm using most of it from the EG2 to change that on the filters itself, and then I'm using a little bit of decay and some release as well. No sustain on this patch. There's this little thing. But that's from the vocal itself. That is the one little vocal actual chop that I'm using here. But you can see how much attention to detail I gave all the bass patches. Because even if you change this right here, for example, it changes the way this is perceived by us. So for me, part of that songwriting is also part of how the frequency is moving.
Too much to ask.
This part right here sounds a lot like the Skrillex basses. And I could be doing this over and over again. But I just want to keep it in one little spot. So you can, if you wanted to hear the song again, you'd have to come back there. And anyway, I want to thank you all for being here with us here at Music Marketing TV. This has been the dubstep track inside the sound design session series for FabFilter Twin 3 here on Music Marketing TV. I'm so glad you guys joined us and stay tuned throughout the video, and I hope it's a great use to you. I want to let you know that the next video in the series is going to be on melodic techno, that techno that's been really mainstream in the past couple years, but it still sounds really, really good. And I'm doing that song entirely with FabFilter Twin 3. I'm trying to do no post-processing on that and just using Twin 3 itself as a VST3 plugin so I can get some of that nice sidechaining using the envelope follower and triggering that to all my synths and all my pads and all my basses to trigger for my kick drums, which I'm also making inside Twin 3. Anyway, thanks for being here with us in this video. I'm Kevin Ochoa with Music Marketing TV, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Peace.